Tom, what's good, man? Thanks for hanging out for a bit.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And look at us talking across the world with technology. This is great. I really don't give a shit. Like, I just do what I like and then I move on. Like, I still was like.
Well, congratulations on the new single, Spellbound. It's a great tune. Tell us about the track.
It's funny, the record itself is kind of like this kind of tour de force of like what I grew up on. So this one was like, I love Depeche Mode. I used to mow my lawn to listening to like New Order and the Depeche Mode before I got really into punk rock music. But this song was kind of me revisiting those tones and those kind of song structures and all that kind of stuff. And you know, the record's a very diverse record, but this song in particular is the only one that sounds this way, and then that was by design. This
is album number 6 for the group. It's called Life Forms. How does it feel now? Because the album's going to be coming out in a few days. How does it feel for you as an artist when you've got, you know, a new album is just about to come out to market? Like, where are you emotionally when that moment comes?
I think if this was all I had, I would probably be really nervous and couldn't wait and really hanging on to what people think about it. But honestly, like now I've done so many things in my life that I've really, and I think this is a good thing, I've really focused on, I really pour myself into what I'm doing at the moment. And then once I'm done, I just kind of move on. You know, I used to like really like obsess over it like anybody would normally, but I found that to be me focusing kind of more on my ego, you know, so I've really worked hard to not do that anymore. And so now I really don't give a shit. Like, I just do what I like and then I move on.
But I want to talk about the album first, Life Forms. Hearing you talk with other people, hearing about your obsession, I think was the word Joe Rogan used, but just, it's a major part of your life, and it's been a big part of your life, thinking about where you are in the universe and other life forms around us in our universe. But it started for you as a kid, right? Back when you were, what? I think you said age 7 or something like that.
Well, 7th grade. So when I was in 7th grade, I just had this like epiphany that I was really interested in science fiction and the paranormal. But then when my band Blink first started touring and we didn't have iPhones and all that stuff, you have books. These things had pages with words on them, and you would buy them and you would hold them. But that was ancient. Just like the Bible, you know. Yeah, so like I started reading books on UFOs, and I was like, holy cow, like this is real. Like, these are accounts from astronauts and presidents and like, you know, the guy that created Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, you know, like these are like the best of the best. They are trained observers, they're engineers. But in any case, it really sparked my imagination.
Those themes exist in Life Forms though, I guess, right? Because that's who you are now, and that's the music that you want to be making now.
I mean, but the album Life Forms and the movie Monsters of California, it's all one thing, right? So it's Life Forms. It's really about the study of relationships. We go through life, and we're it's our wife, or it's our girlfriend or husband, it's our best friends, it's who we work with, and it's the guy that like gets pissed at you when you're driving, or the waitress that is depressed. And it's like, so we think our interactions with human beings are everything that exists, but it's not the case. When the government got into the work with UFOs, not only the US government, but multiple governments on Earth back in like the 40s, they started to realize there's a lot more to this place that we didn't understand. And then they got into understanding consciousness after that. So, you know, for me, it's like, it's not just about us interacting with people. There's an entire study of what this really is that needs to come out, that the government knows, and they just don't know how to talk about it. So I'm trying to, with my music and with the movies, to kind of create the foundation for some discussions and catch people up, because it's literally been like 70 years and they've figured out a lot of really interesting, amazing, mind-blowing things. And but people just don't even have the ability to understand it. And that's kind of where I come in, is I think that I'm going to be able to help with that a little bit.
I won't open these eyes, like there's chaos in my mind, like dreaming of death, or that feeling that you get when the
Tell us about Monsters of California. Give us the plot of the film.
Well, Monsters of California is a very kind of Amblin Spielberg film, but with an R rating and a lot more dick jokes. And it's got like, you know, skateboarders, and it's got all this paranormal stuff, but it's very much like if Spielberg and John Hughes had a baby, but then like Seth Rogen came in and just put in a bunch of jokes that we're not supposed to have in a movie like that. And but the point of that movie is really, you know, reflecting about me when I was younger, where it's a fascination and being full of wonder and really chasing all the supernatural elements around you versus really wanting to fall in line with what your parents want for you and what they're supposed to do. And it'll set up basically the spirit of wonder, and there's some Easter eggs in there, and there's some things that are said in there that are super important. So I'm really excited for people to hear, but it also will set up us being able to make some of the more serious films that are coming that deal with this subject, you know?
This was your directorial debut, is that correct?
It is. It definitely is, yeah.
How was it?
Yeah.
How was it?
It was hard. It was like, that's the most focus I've ever had to have for that long, I mean, for that length of time. The amount of focus, I mean, it's just insane. There's months of just like, boom, like, so getting out of that, when we finished principal photography, like, I remember it took me like 3 weeks to like not feel exhausted, like just the mental, but a lot of that I put on myself because I haven't directed a film before. So I would stay up all night long, like trying to think of everything I didn't know. So I'm obsessing about everything I don't know. And that's what was exhausting. Now I kind of get it, you know, I'm done with it. I'm like, whoa. And I think I just feel like this comes very natural to me now. Like after directing, I'm like, with all those challenges, I kind of feel like it's easier still than writing a really good song that stands out amongst the trillion that get released every day, you know?
Oh, that's interesting. Why do you say that?
Because not a lot of people can think multi-dimensional. A lot of people, anybody can direct, right? Like you can go and just set up all your shots and get the coverage, which is like every angle, then hand it to an editor, and they choose it all, and then you have a lot of angles. But then you kind of have a shitty movie. It's not like that's when you go to a movie and you just that's cool, whatever. They might have spent $100 million on it, but you're like, eh. So like there's so many things that have to come together and fit like Tetris, and it's hard to do that unless you have the mind that can be scattered and crazy enough to put those pieces together when you're laying in bed. And I think my mind is made for that. I think it works for me. You know, I write a lot of songs without even playing guitar. I just lay there thinking about what my hands are doing on the guitar and what the sound that's making and what kind of melodies would come out. You know, it's interesting. I'm very much able to do those types of things. So I find a lot of comfort in the directing thing because I think I really get it, you know?
Every word is falsified. Can I see what you become? A little hard to recognize.
It's uncommon, I think, unless I don't know about it, but for an artist to do an album and then have a movie come out as part of the same project, that's pretty rare, I think. But what makes you want to do that type of thing?
Well, it started because when Blink broke up first, I knew that I would never be able to do that again. I was like, that's like lightning in a bottle. So let's do something different that could be just as ambitious in a different way, and just as challenging, but in a different way, or more challenging in a different way, whatever. So it was really just me putting together the pieces of a pie that were different than the pieces that were in that pie, you know? And what I came to was less releases, but more ambitious releases, you know? And rather than doing something kind of more like surface level where it's just a really good hook and you whistle it and sing it, it's more like real depth of the themes and consequences of an entire art project.
Getting the sense, this is the first time that I've ever met you, but I'm getting the sense that you're really experiencing a level of perhaps artistic freedom, maybe even for the first time in your life that you haven't had before. Would that be accurate?
Oh, totally. Yeah, I'm probably the only guy. I mean, if you look at my life path, it's crazy. Like, I just have always done things I shouldn't, and I've always done things that are challenging artistically, and I've always done them pretty well, but I've gotten better with those things over time. And I've gotten really good at being unpredictable. And that's kind of, I mean, even to a fault, I mean, for years, everyone thought I was crazy. He quit Blink to go chase aliens. He has these ideas. He's working with people from the US government, you know, like, well, you know, like anybody that really knows me knows that I'm a pretty clever guy. I'm a smart guy. I'm not stupid. You know, I don't go off and do things that would hurt my family or hurt my career for like no reason, you know?
It's wild, isn't it? I mean, let's talk about it right now. Let's talk about your company, To the Stars. First of all, tell us what it is before I can ask a few questions about, you know, working with the U.S. government on things that the average American or the average citizen of the world doesn't know about. But first, just give us a brief overview of the company, if you could.
Well, To the Stars started as a production company because Angels and Airwaves, my band, wanted to make movies, but it's really hard. So we created a little production company to handle, you know, selling the products and getting these, you know, getting the books written and all this different stuff. One of the stories was about UFOs. It was a story called Secret Machines. And that is when that came out, right before it came out is when I made a bunch of inroads and took the time to use my celebrity, if you will, to get into places where I could start pitching lightly some ideas that no one wanted to hear, frankly. But the ideas were pretty good. And then those friendships grew into a group of people that really supported what I was trying to achieve. But it was tricky because so much of it was really classified, but I already knew the classified stuff just by putting pieces together and patterns together over 2 decades. So I didn't need that info. I didn't need to hit them up for classified information. Mine was more like large brushstrokes about, you know, the who, what, where kind of thing that deals with the UFO phenomenon.
Well, I got a message from the label that we got to wrap up, Tom. I feel like we just got started here. We're on like level
every
2.
Interview I do.
I know, right? If we could arrange a part 2 for this, I'd absolutely love it. But just before we wrap up, I want to know your favorite song off of Lifeforms that's coming out. Mine's Euphoria so far. Obviously, I haven't heard the whole album yet, but do you have one that stands out for you?
Gosh, Euphoria is a good one. It's either that one or the first song on the record called Time Bomb. I think both those songs are really good, like mix of where I've come from and where I've arrived. It's kind of like it shows both those worlds. And so I think people are going to really like this record if they give it a shot, if they like my kind of melodic sensibility, I guess.
Angels and Airwaves new album is called Lifeforms. It's coming out in the next few days. The new single is called Spellbound, but other singles from the record have already been released already. The movie's Monsters of California. Is there a release date yet for that, Tom?
That's probably going to be after the holidays, like spring or something is what I'm thinking. But premiere's probably right around holidays is what I'm hoping.
Cool. And you guys are going touring soon. You're doing the States. You're doing Europe early next year.
2 weeks. Yeah, we leave in 2 weeks. So I better start practicing is all I'm thinking right now at some point.
You got to get over to Korea at some point so we can continue this conversation. Tom Delonge from Angels and Airwaves, congratulations on everything that you've got going on, including the stuff with your company. It was such a pleasure to chat with you, and I really sincerely hope that we can do it again someday.
Cool. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Awesome, man. You too.